recovery efforts now that the first critical 72 hours since the quake have now passed. Meantime, in Ukraine, a grim new heads up. Sources tell ABC's Tom Sufi-Burrich Russian forces will launch a major offensive in the next 10 days. Severe storms in the south, at least one tornado touching down north of New Orleans overnight, 3 others elsewhere, but fortunately only minor injuries.
One of the mobile homes was a mother and 2 children, a toddler and an infant. They were able to get to them. They're fine.
That's Robbie Miller, president of Tangipahoa Parish. Damage assessments getting underway. Here in the U.S., President Biden making new comments about his classified documents investigation, telling PBS the documents are stray papers from 1974 and blaming office moves that were not done well. The president also answering a pointed question about his age and his health.
I would be completely thoroughly honest with the American people if I thought there was any health problem, anything that would keep me from being able to do the job. And so we'll see. I think people have to just watch me.
Biden is 80 years old. He travels to Tampa today to tout senior programs, including his plans to strengthen Social Security and Medicare while lowering health care costs. Well wishes for Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who had to be hospitalized after experiencing lightheadedness Wednesday. He's a stroke survivor. His health made out to be a campaign issue. You're listening to ABC News.
Inside a dimly lit room at the LBJ Library in Austin, Texas, a motion sensor triggers a recording, and a voice fills the room.
Suddenly, there was a sharp, loud report. A shot.
It's the voice of Lady Bird Johnson, the wife of Lyndon Johnson.
He wants to get out. There is no way out.
Lady Bird recorded her entire experience in the White House, hours and hours of tape that almost no one has ever heard. And those tapes, they end up rewriting history. This is a story about one of the most influential members of the administration, even if we never knew it.
I wrote out for Lyndon about a 9-page analysis of what I thought his situation was.
From Best Case Studios and ABC Audio, listen to In Plain Sight, Lady Bird Johnson, available now wherever you listen to podcasts.
Testimony set to resume today in the murder trial of South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh. Yesterday's session interrupted by a bomb threat in the morning. Nothing was found. Murdaugh is accused of killing his wife and son. Facing questions on Capitol Hill today, a top executive at Southwest Airlines over the carrier's holiday mess when thousands of flights had to be canceled around Christmas. More from ABC's Andrea Fujii.
Southwest Chief Operating Officer will testify before Congress about the airline's holiday travel meltdown when it was forced to cancel nearly 17,000 flights, stranding 2 million passengers at the end of December. Representatives from the pilots union also expected to testify and bring evidence of the chaos, including this message it says was displayed on a cockpit computer, showing that dispatchers did not know which crews were on what planes. The message reading, "Sketch is asking to confirm who is operating this flight. It's a mess down here." And scheduling is so far behind, we were told we aren't allowed to walk over and talk to them.
Critics say the airline was using outdated software for its scheduling. Better than expected sales of snacks and drinks helping to drive revenues up at Pepsi, more than 10% in the last quarter to $28 billion. And nearly 5 million bottles of the cleaner Fabuloso are being recalled. There are concerns they could be tainted with a bacteria that could cause a serious infection in people with compromised immune systems. This is ABC News.
What if I told you, in Iran, women are banned from going to soccer games?
Mom, take the ball. I love you.
For 43 years, Iranian women have fought back. Police pushed us.
Troops.
This is their story.
The joy was forbidden.
What is the meaning of that?
That is how they control you.
I'm Shimol Yai. Listen to the new 30 for 30 podcast, Pink Card. Available now.
I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
Does that old tractor or lawnmower have more electrical tape or duct tape holding it together than you want to admit? Well, maybe it's time to see Phil Sheehan and his staff at NC Tractor for a new Massey Ferguson tractor or mower. Massey Ferguson is a company that's been around for over 175 years. That says a lot about a company. And paired with Phil Sheehan, who's been in business for over 25 years, that says a lot about Phil and his staff. Knowledgeable about their product, and they stand behind every sale. Massey Ferguson is the last tractor you'll ever need. NC Tractor, a dependable and reliable company company that'll be there after the sale. NC Tractor on Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton.
It is going to be a warm one for us on this Thursday, which is the chance of a stray shower this afternoon, but very limited coverage. The big thing you'll notice is temperatures are going to be in the low 70s today with partly to mostly cloudy skies. We'll keep the cloud cover with us tonight, an isolated shower with temperatures in the low 50s. Scattered showers tomorrow heading into the afternoon and evening. Otherwise, we won't see much sunshine with temperatures to end the week in the low 60s. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
Thank you very much, Anthony. We are really moving up the scale already this morning. We've jumped up 5 degrees since I got here. 45 when I arrived, 50 now, and we'll keep climbing until we reach about 66, and some south wind to 13 miles per hour with gusts as high as 22 miles per hour today. And a slight chance of precipitation starting this afternoon, and we'll have some precip maybe tonight, possibly even on Friday and Saturday. The weather forecast for Saturday has changed a couple of times. One I have in my hand doesn't even show rain Saturday, but another one I have says it is going to rain Saturday, so who knows? We'll wait and see what happens. Only Mother Nature knows for sure. 6 minutes after 7 o'clock, we'll get to the death announcements in just a few moments. There are many of those, so we'll delay those until after the Bill O'Reilly Morning Update. I do have these news stories this morning. Global manufacturing company Milligan is shutting down a plant up in Golden Valley. The County Economic Development Office said it has reached out to the company to offer assistance to employees. And Darren Milligan said it is still working to see how many workers it may be able to place in other facilities in the region. The office said there's no timeline for the plant's closing, but they will be closing the Golden Valley plant after all these years. Sad news there for the folks who are employed there and the community around it. Well, Rutherford County Commissioners agreed to a property sale that will enable the North Carolina Department of Transportation to construct a new bridge near Facebook. The action came at the Monday meeting of the Commissioners. DOT is purchasing 5.36 acres of land that was originally part of the old Burlington Industries property that the county had acquired. Most of the Burlington property later became the site of Facebook. DOT will acquire the property at a cost of $17,700. Part of the property will be used as DOT replaces the bridge on U.S. Highway 74. County Manager Steve Garrison, along with county attorneys, were authorized to enter into contracts to complete that sale. I think you've heard this story already, but a traffic stop led to the arrest of 2 men on drug trafficking charges. Rutherford County Sheriff's deputies stopped a truck in the area of Ellenboro, Henrietta Road, because of a fictitious license plate. During the course of the stop, deputies summoned the assistance of a Polk County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit, Jumper. K-9 Jumper alerted deputies of the presence of narcotics, prompting a search of the truck. The search yielded a seizure of methamphetamine, fentanyl, and 2 sets of digital scales, according to the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. Arrested were driver Cody Ryan Rollins, 25, of Spindale, and passenger Julius Tyrone Miller, 51, of Rutherford. Both men now face trafficking and possession charges. Rollins was jailed under a $225,000 secured bond, and Miller is being held on a $200,000 secured bond. The Park Square Depot project will move forward after receiving final approval by the Forest City Town Council at its meeting Monday night. Park Square Depot, which will serve as a future home for the Rutherford County Farmers Market through a partnership with Rutherford Building Agricultural Relationships, now Barn, was funded through donations from several local foundations as well as $300,000 gift from Meta, which is Facebook, which was announced at the council meeting. We'll have more on that as time allows. Let me remind you that we continue the drawings for the Be My Baby Valentine promotion. We'll have another one a little after 8 o'clock this morning. We also have a couple of different guests coming in at 8 o'clock, and one again at 8:30. We'll talk about various subjects that I think you might be interested in. So stand by with us throughout the morning. We got an exciting next 2 hours right here at WCAB. Here's Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you are a timeshare owner, you're probably upset that your yearly dues continue to increase. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and done in a specific time frame. They're the only company you can trust, having helped more than 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out. So please call Lone Star Transfer 855-551-7066 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Thursday, the real State of the Union. President Biden had good energy Tuesday night, but he didn't say very much, although there were many, many words. 1 hour and 12 minutes worth of words. The State of the Union address was standard issue Democratic Party, lots of giveaway proposals, corporations are evil. As usual, there were deceptions from the president. The biggest one is that he cut the deficit by $1.4 trillion. Ahem. In his first year, Biden ran up a record-breaking $2.8 trillion deficit. Second year, the deficit declined to a still colossal $1.4 trillion. So he's a deficit cutter? Come on. The hits were rolled out in the usual fashion: pay your fair share, ban assault rifles, comprehensive immigration reform, which means amnesty, more abortion, please. If you like all that, you like the speech. Now, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders did not like the speech. In her Republican rebuttal, she called Mr. Biden a weak president and a captive of the far-left crazies. The governor's speech was crisp, whether you agree or not, and she is definitely a future presidential candidate herself. Back in a moment. No question, there is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits and all kinds of great content. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
13 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning, I have these death announcements. Harley Brandon Upton, age 22, of Rutherfordton, passed away Wednesday, January the 25th. A memorial service will be conducted at 2 o'clock Saturday, February the 11th at Cooper's Gap Baptist Church. On his behalf, Harley Brandon Upton, and Harrelson Funeral and Cremation Service is serving the family. Judy Ann Robinson, 74, of Bostic, died at her residence on February the 6th. A graveside service will be held 3 o'clock Monday, January the 13th in the Mount Lebanon Baptist Church Cemetery. And Paget and King Mortuary and Crematory is serving the family of Judy Ann Robinson. Stephen Orr, age 38, of Rutherfordton, passed away Saturday, February the 4th at his residence. A memorial service to celebrate Stephen's life will be held at 11 o'clock Saturday, February the 11th at Adelsville Baptist Church. The family will receive friends following the service at the church. Harrelson Funeral and Cremation Services serving the family of Stephen Orr. William Bill Davis, age 84, of Forest City, died Thursday, January 26th in Richmond, Virginia. A memorial service will be held 2 o'clock on Saturday, February the 11th in the First United Methodist Church. Visitation will follow in the Church Fellowship Hall. Burial will be private for the immediate family. And the Paget and King Mortuary is in charge of the arrangements for William Bill Davis. William Scott Burnett, age 68, of Forest City, died Sunday, February the 5th at his home. The funeral service will be held at 2 o'clock Friday, February the 10th in the Paget and King Chapel. Burial will follow in the Rutherford County Memorial Cemetery. The family will receive friends from 12:30 until 1:45 Friday prior to the service. The Paget and King Mortuary and Crematory is in charge of the arrangements for Richard Scott Burnett. David Franklin Martin, age 68, died February the 5th Services will be held today at 12:10 at the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Forest City. Military honors will be provided by the Rutherford County Honor Guard. Crow's Mortuary is assisting the family of David Franklin Martin. J.P. Jr. Bailey, age 92, of Rutherfordton, passed away Sunday, February the 5th, at his residence. A committal service will be conducted at 11 o'clock today in the Harrelson Funeral Chapel. Military honors will be conducted by the Rutherford County Honor Guard. Burial will take place at the Eternal Hills Memorial Park. The family will receive friends from 6 until 8 o'clock. Last night they received friends at the funeral home. Harrelson Funeral and Cremation Services serving the family of J.P. Jr. Bailey. George Lester Womack Jr., age 64, of Mill Spring, passed away Monday, February the 6th, at his home. There will be a gathering of family and friends at Mike Mahan's funeral home from 4:30 until 6 o'clock, February the 16th. And Mike Van's funeral home and cremation service in charge of those arrangements for George Lester Womack. James Billy Bradley, age 71, of Forest City, passed away Saturday, February the 4th, at the Charles George VA Medical Center. The funeral service will be conducted at 2 o'clock Saturday, February the 18th, at Spindale Fellowship Holiness Church. Burial will follow at Eternal Hills Memorial Park, and military honors will be provided by the Rutherford County Honor Guard. The family will receive friends 1 hour prior to service time at the church. And Harrelson Funeral Home is serving the family of James Billy Bradley. Wayne Justice McBee, age 67, of Forest City, passed away Tuesday, February the 7th, at Hospice of the Carolina Foothills. A private burial will be conducted at Cleveland Memorial Park, handled by Harrelson Funeral and Cremation Services for Wayne Jr. McBee. Those are the death announcements we have in-house this morning. For complete information on these and others as they become available to us can be heard this morning at 11:30 and then again at 5:10 as part of the afternoon Call Around the County newscast. It's 17 minutes after 7.
When George Custer graduated from West Point, not only had he come close to being dismissed from West Point, he graduated at the bottom of his class. But when he got into the battlefield, he did so well he ended up receiving a battlefield commission to Major General. Following the Civil War, with the military downsizing, he was given a permanent rank of Lieutenant Colonel. But as a result of his publicists, everyone today still thinks of him as General Custer. Who was his publicist? Her name was Elizabeth Bacon. And on February 9, 1864, George Custer solidified their arrangement by a ceremony making her Mrs. George Armstrong Custer. While Custer was distinguishing himself on the battlefield, Elizabeth was charming important men in Washington, D.C. Following the Civil War, the only remaining conflict was the Indians in the West. So Custer accepted duty there, and his wife Libby followed him. Libby's job as a publicist was even more important following the Little Bighorn. When Libby discovered President Grant blamed Custer, she started a campaign to redeem his good name. With her help, Frederick Whitaker wrote a book absolving Custer. Then Libby ended up publishing 3 books showing Custer a loving husband and a selfless martyr. And it worked, too. Dissenters were reluctant to criticize Custer's celebrated widow while she lived, and by the time she died almost 60 years after Little Bighorn, anyone who had first-hand knowledge of the event was no longer around to change the story. You've just heard another story from Old West Radio. I'm Dakota Livesay.
Jesse James Railroad Express has moved to a new location, 126 Park Lane Plaza in Rutherfordton, and they've changed their name, Jesse James Chowhound Canteen. A new name, a new place, and a limited menu. Currently, you can get smoked sausages, kielbasa's, and of course those delicious hot dogs. And you can get coleslaw, macaroni and cheese, and potato salad. Stay tuned for their new menu at their new place. Hours are Tuesday through Saturdays from 11 until 2, closed Sundays and Mondays. Jesse James Chowhound Canteen, 126 Park Lane Plaza in Rutherford. Call 286-9368 and get a 99-cent hot dog with mustard, chili, and onions, Tuesdays only.
Now let's go to the phones to get started with our call around the county newscast. And Officer King is with us again this morning, and we're happy to have him, and he can give us updates on what's been happening out there. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing today, Jim?
Doing pretty good. What's going on around the county?
In the past 24 hours, the Sheriff's Department responded to 163 calls for service. There were 10 arrests processed in the jail, and the jail currently has 170 people incarcerated. On our incident reports, Brandon Ross from Whiteside Road in Forest City reported obtaining property by false pretense, and a Ashley Burleson from DePriest Road in Bostic reported a misdemeanor larceny. That's all for the incident reports. On our arrest reports, Benjamin Sane from Pleasant Hill Road in Rutherford was served with a warrant for possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana up to half an ounce, and possession of marijuana paraphernalia, and he received a $500 secured bond. Lisa Wilson from Rosie Lane in Rutherford was arrested and charged with possession of marijuana paraphernalia, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of marijuana up to half ounce, received a $500 secured bond. Thomas Reed from Birch Hutchins Road in Forest City was arrested and charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana paraphernalia, and possession of marijuana up to a half ounce, and he received a $1,000 secured bond. Christopher Green from Maple Street in Rutherford was served with 2 counts of failure to appear on misdemeanor, received a $1,500 cash bond. William Bailey from Wreck Drive in Rutherford was served with 2 counts of failure to appear on misdemeanor, received a $1,000 secured bond. Keon Hamrick from MacArthur Street in Forest City was served with a child support warrant, received a $500 cash bond. Devin Young from Highway 64 in Rutherford was served with 2 felony probation violations and also failed to appear on misdemeanor, received a $36,000 secured bond. Richard Farrell from Boston Sunshine Highway in Bostic was served with 2 counts of true bills of indictment, received a $2,500 secured bond. Alvin Vickers from 221 South Highway in Rutherford was served with warrant for possession of firearm by felon, received a $5,000 secured bond. David Carroll from McIntyre Road in Tryon, North Carolina, was served with a failure to appear on felony, received a $5,000 secured bond. Jason Thompson from Race Path Church Road in Ellenboro was served with a warrant for possession of a controlled substance on jail premises and also providing drugs to an inmate, received a $40,000 secured bond. David Langley from Luckadoo Mountain Road in Bostic was served with a warrant for trafficking in methamphetamine, maintaining a vehicle or dwelling place for controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia, and received a $15,000 secured bond. And that's all we have for today.
You know, obviously, I can't get over how smart I think people think they are by having drugs on in the jail at the prison over there. I think they can get away with that.
It's never ending.
I tell you, it's a crazy world.
I guess if there's a will, there's a way.
Appreciate you being with us, Officer King, and you have a great day and be safe out there.
Thank you, Jim. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. And we'll check with 911 Communication Center in just a moment.
Mission Health Center Rutherford is now open in Forest City, a multi-specialty clinic with care for the whole family. From routine preventative care to the treatment of chronic conditions, our providers offer a personalized approach to meet your specific needs. Now accepting new patients. Call 828-659-5741 to make an appointment today. Mission Health Center Rutherford. Quality care close to home.
Now let's check in with Tina over at 911 Communication. Tina, good morning.
Good morning.
What's on your report today?
In the past 24 hours, Rutherford County 911 Communications has processed 156 911 calls and administrative calls, which consisted of 45 for EMS, 163 for the Sheriff's Office, 78 for Forest City, 8 for Lake Lure, 25 for Spindale, and 38 for Rutherfordton. And under fire calls, we had Bills Creek respond to a motor vehicle accident, and that's all we had.
All right, Tina, thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Nobody gets a better deal than the customers at Sisk Family Ford. They have a proven record of the best deals. Sisk Family Ford, Rutherford County's only locally owned new car dealer, has recently been recognized as the #1 Ford dealer in customer satisfaction in the Southeast. That speaks well of their commitment to serve their customers well. Rutherford County's only locally owned new car dealership. That's Sisk Family Ford, Oak Street, Forest City. We're checking in now with Shiloh, Danieltown, Oakland Community. We call it SDO. And Ruby Taylor is up next to give us the report from that neighborhood. Good morning, Ruby.
Good morning.
What's on your report this morning?
Well, the fire department was quiet as far as I know. And on my birthday counter, I've got Max Street, Johnny Root, Grayson Blake, and Blake Walker having birthdays today. Hope these people have a nice day. Signs are in the rains today and tomorrow. And Jim, that's all I got.
You have a great day, Ruby.
You too.
Thanks.
Your car's best friend can be RS Speedy Lube Service Center. That's because RS Speedy Lube Service Center and Car Wash can keep your car or truck running clean with a regular oil change. They check the fluids and vacuum out the car and have you on your way in no time. Go next door for a radiator or transmission flush, brakes, exhaust, CV joints, and service for big trucks and campers also available. Pull next door to the RS Speedy Automatic Car Wash and make your car happy with a clean, all under and all over car wash. It's all at RS Service Center and Car Wash on Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton.
We have a busy 8 o'clock hour this morning. We're going to start the hour with a drawing from our Be My Baby Valentine box. And have a great prize to give away. Then we also have an interview with Mary Adams and Joni Carney. They're involved with the Sanctuary at Red Bell Run, and Pack-a-Pony Miniature Horse Kissing Booth coming up, and we'll talk with them about that project they have up there. And then at 8:30, John Cribb, he's the author, and he's authored another book on Abraham Lincoln, and it's called The Rail Splitter, a novel by John Cribb, and we'll talk with him about that new book. All that's during the 8 o'clock hour, so it's going to be a busy hour, so hang around with us. We've had a call this morning. Don't have any report on it just yet, but maybe we can find out from somebody where a fire at a Cliffside plant this morning is underway, or they had a call. We'll find out see if we can find out something on it. Don't know yet. 911 did not mention the Cliffside call, but we'll see what happens. All right, here's DeVern Upton over in Bostic with our report. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Hope you are.
I'm doing good. Our temperature is 51 degrees over here this morning. Fire department had no calls. Food boxes will be given out today at Washburn's Outreach there off of Piney Mountain Church Road from 9 to 12:30. That's right in behind Washburn's store. And don't forget to stop in at the Bee Supply store if you need any bee supply items. But she has much, much more in there. That's at Depot Street. And while you're there, put something in the blessed box or take a blessing. And don't forget to get your order in for Valentine's Day with the Bostic Florist. She'll make arrangements for you, whatever you need. And hope everyone has a wonderful day.
DeVern, you have a wonderful day as well, and we'll talk again tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye. And tomorrow morning, of course, being Friday. Friday is coming at the tail end of this week. And that'll already be the 10th by tomorrow. See how fast this month's moving already. So if you plan to do anything in February, get on it. It's going to be here before you know it.
Jim, have you seen Henson Building Materials' newly remodeled showroom? It's gorgeous.
You mean where they have a full line of hardware and building materials for homeowners and home builders?
I mean where Jamie, Terry, and Tony, their friendly staff, treat me like family. Oh, they're so nice.
Hey, are they taking COVID precautions and have curbside service?
Of course! They're so thoughtful.
I do need some materials, but I don't think they'll fit in our car.
Oh, silly. They have professional delivery so we can get whatever I want.
Henson Building Materials, 177 Duke Street in Forest City.
Building starts here.
Now let's check in with Chris Melton over at Chimney Rock and Lake Lure and Bills Creek community, see what's been going on over there. Chris, how you doing?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Doing well. You busy this morning?
Not too bad.
Well, good. What can you tell us about the activities?
We've had a medical call in Lake Lure yesterday, and then Bills Creek responded to a medical call, and that was it on call-wise. Had a good little rain come through early yesterday evening, and then late last night. And other than that, it's been a good day so far. Just praying for the guys in the lower end of the county who's going to a fire right now.
Is that the one at Cliffside?
It is.
What's burning there? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure just yet. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, okay. We had a tip earlier that there was a fire at the Cliffside plant. I don't know if it's the old plant or one of the other plants or what's going on, but maybe we can find out during this call around.
Yeah. Hopefully they're arriving on scene and getting the size up now. So.
Okay. Okay. Chris, thank you very much for being with us. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Y'all do the same. Take care.
Bye-bye. So they are on the scene at a Cliffside at a fire. We'll try to find out what's going on with that in just a few minutes.
Wayne's Lunchbox can satisfy the pickiest of eaters at lunch or dinner or supper, whatever you want to call it. You can enjoy salads, sandwiches, a limited meat and veggie menu at lunchtime, and then for supper, your choice of a meat and vegetables. And Wayne's will be serving breakfast for supper the first of each month. Call on Wayne's for any catering event that you may have, offering catering service, so stop by 391 East Main Street in Spindale. Call 828-395-2225. Open Monday through Thursday, 11 until 2, for supper 3 until 7.
All right, Robbie Samuel is on the phone. Excuse me. About to get strangled on my coffee there, Robbie.
No, you ain't got a little too strong this morning, do you?
I think I did, yeah. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. It's looks like it's going to be another good day today, Tim. The sun's trying to peak a little, but it's a little cloudy out here this morning. But maybe it'll come on out after a while and warm things up for us. But through the night, Ralston had a medical call about 5 o'clock this morning, and excuse me, I'm sorry about that. And Hudlow, it was quiet through the night, and I just want to remind everybody about the ham supper this Saturday, February the 11th, starting at 4:30. It's drive-through only, Mount Vernon Community Clubhouse. It'll be $12 a plate. It's a ham and chicken pie. Come and get some good food and enjoy it. But other than that, Jim, that's all we got going on. Just listening to the Cliffside Fire and see what they've got going on. But
what do you know about that fire? What's going on down there?
I don't know. They just said it was a fire in one of their rooms in one of the plants. But I'll be honest, I don't know if it's the new plant or the old plant. So whichever one it is, like I said, I hadn't really heard anything as far as how bad it is. But I do know they got some units coming from Bowling Springs out of Cleveland County assisting them with it. So hopefully it's not as bad as it sounds. You know, sometimes things sound worse than they really are, and I hope that's the case to this morning anyway.
I hope it's not related to Duke Energy there.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not going to be, and everybody will be able to stay on the grid.
I hope
keep
so.
the power anyway.
I hope so. I hope it's nothing really serious. But anytime there's a fire, you always think the worst.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just what you have to do sometimes, isn't it?
It sure is. But we appreciate you guys that go after those things. I know you take your life in your own hands when you do that, so we appreciate what all the fire people do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're glad we can help, and hopefully they'll stay safe today and get this accomplished really quick.
Rob, you have a wonderful day up there, and keep us posted, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, Jim. You have a good day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thinking about the departure of a loved one through death is a subject we don't like to talk about. However, pre-planning or prepaying for a funeral is a consideration and responsible thing to do. With so many options available today, it's important to speak with someone you can trust and someone who can help you find a balance between the emotional, spiritual, and financial needs of your loved ones. Crow's Mortuary and Crematory is recognized as one of the best family-run funeral homes. It's a family tradition, and they know how to care for your family. Any questions you might have, they will be happy to answer. Call Crow's Mortuary and Cremation Services at 286-2304.
And here's Cherry Mountain Fire District reporter Sue Price. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing okay. Hope you are.
Things are nice and quiet over there, I hope.
Yeah, everything's quiet as far as I know. Haven't had any calls, so I reckon the fire department's been quiet, and that's a good thing. We do appreciate all our firemen, though.
Yes.
And the time they spent working and helping and taking care of the fire department. There's always something to do. It's kind of cloudy over this way, looks like. I don't know whether the rain's going to get here earlier or not.
It'd hold off a little while, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. We've had lots of rain this fall and winter. I don't have any birthdays or anniversaries on any of my calendars this morning, Jim. It's just one of those days I don't have any, but we hope anybody that's having a birthday or anniversary will have a real good day on their special day and enjoy it. And I don't have any announcements, so just looking for a good day, and I hope you'll have one.
Thanks, so you too, and I will check back in over there tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It can be a tough call when it comes time to provide a daycare service for an aging parent or a loved one. You can always depend on Rutherford Life Services for a safe facility that offers medical monitoring, nutritional meals, fun activities, and is a loving environment. Rutherford Life is licensed by the State of North Carolina Division of Aging. They will be glad to answer any questions you may have. Call them at 288-1697. Rutherford Life Services offers a trained staff of professionals who you can entrust your loved one to. Rutherford Life Services is located at 230 Fairground Road in Spindale.
You know, they got a large store that there's a meat market in place. They have steaks, pork chops, roast, filet mignon, and they'll cut it any way you want it cut. I'm talking about Sammy's, the former Sammy's place he was back in the market for many, many years, and he's trained those folks to do it right. You can go to Drop-In Family Grocery there in Boston and see what kind of steak you can get. Weekend's coming, so get you a good one. Beautiful produce department with grapes and apples and bread, everyday low prices on everything. The chicken, the Major Lee's chicken, potato wedges, pizza, beef dogs, all that's available. Great hometown grown store right here in our area. We're so proud of them. Proud to continuing that business for hometown. You have an opportunity to support local businesses. If you need some help, they'll be glad to take your groceries out to the car for you. They're that friendly, good customer service like nobody else. Why don't you check with Drop-In Family Mart there in Boston, cross to the post office, and enjoy some good food this morning. Here's Tina White reporting to us from Shingle Hollow. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning from cloudy Shingle Hollow this morning.
Cloudy weather up there, huh?
It is cloudy. Had to find a spot that I'd have signal and stand still. So if I lose you, that's what it is.
All right.
Well, it's 49 degrees up here. We have a birthday on Pleasant Grove's calendar, Miss Heather Whiteside. If you know her, tell her happy birthday. And on my personal calendar, I have Wesley Lauder and Torrin Greenlee, and I hope everybody has a wonderful birthday today. Tomorrow is the family Valentine dance over at Pinnacle Elementary. So plan on spending the evening over at Pinnacle with your little one. You can have dinner and then the dance. And then on the 16th, Trinity Christian School is having their kindergarten roundup from 4 to 6:30. Go out and hear what it's all about, and they have some tuition help and all kind of stuff. So that'll be a good evening to learn. And that's all I have. Oh, the fire department, I don't think they had anything. I didn't hear from him this morning, so I hope they were all quiet.
all attention's at Clipside right now.
I think that's right. From what you were saying, they're paying attention down there to the mill, right?
That's right. Don't know which plant it is, but one of those plants down there. It's they're having to go to this morning, so we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you for keeping us informed. I appreciate that very much.
My pleasure.
And I am going to jump off here. I got a little cold going on, and it's about to lay me down.
Well, back away from that phone. Back away from that phone.
I'm not breathing through it. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You stay
Bye-bye.
well. You stay well, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. God bless.
Farm Bureau Insurance doesn't hire celebrities to push auto coverage. We think people might like to make decisions based on service and savings, not just because that guy from that show says it's a good idea. Instead of faces you know from your TV, we offer faces you know from your neighborhood, because we're headquartered in North Carolina with local agents right in your town. That's really the only thing we want to be famous for. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, helping you is what we do best.
In Rutherford County, please call 287-2428.
North Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Insurance of North Carolina, Inc., Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
3 exciting things happening next hour during the 8 o'clock hour. Top of the hour when we get out of the news, we're going to have a drawing, the second day's drawing for the Be My Baby Valentine promotion. Got some great gifts to line up there. We'll do that drawing a little after 8 o'clock. And then we'll be talking with Mary Adams and Joni Carney about something I've just learned about recently, the Sanctuary at Red Bell Run. And they're having an event coming up. I want you to know more about what they're doing. It's a great story about the Sanctuary at Red Bell Run, and we'll talk with Mary and Joni coming up a little after 8 o'clock. At 8:30 this morning, John Cribb, he's an author, written several books, and he has a new one out about Abraham Lincoln. You know, I'm a fan of Abraham Lincoln. So this one's called The Rail Splitter. It traces a little bit of history of Abraham Lincoln back as a youngster. So it should be interesting to talk with him about that. We'll do that about 8:30 this morning. Let's check in with Miss Kelly up in Union Mills and see what's happening up there. Good morning, Brenda Kelly.
Good morning, Jim Bishop. How are you on this tremendous Thursday morning?
Doing well.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, it's always exciting to be here.
I know, I am too. So when did you say Carolina plays again? I know they're playing Clemson.
Saturday.
Okay.
12:30 airtime, 1 o'clock pregame, 2 o'clock tip-off.
Okay.
Takes them a long time to get ready to tip off. They have to talk about it a long time.
I'm telling you, it takes a long time, yeah. But if they got to get it together, I'm telling you, it's been trouble watching them the last 3 times.
Yeah, well, if they lose to Clemson Saturday, it's going to be pitiful.
I know it. But time will tell. But they'll always be my team. I've just always loved them Tar Heels. I can't help it.
Yeah. That's where the ball bounces sometimes.
That's right. But we hope everybody's having a good morning. I've got 44 degrees on the front porch this morning. I don't have any birthdays and anniversaries, but in ways of announcements. Benefit breakfast for Neighbors Pantry Saturday the 11th from 7 to 10 a.m. and adults is $8, kids 6 to 12, $4, 5 and under free. And this is at the Gilkey School Community Center. And then we've got Union Mills Wilderness Race, 5K, 10K, Saturday, February the 25th, 10 a.m., $30 restoration by visiting Racing Toes website or calling 429-5871 by February the 19th in order to receive a T-shirt. Proceeds go to the Union Mills Learning Center for programs offered to the public and for maintenance costs. This is the first race of the Rutherford Outdoor Coalition Series. Points will be awarded for both races, medals for overall first, second, and third places. And so far, that's all I've got that I know that's going on up here in this little part of the world.
All right. We'll keep it quiet up there and nice and friendly. We'll see you tomorrow.
Catch you later.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To win in sports, you must adjust your strategy as the game changes. The same is true of investments. Why not let Andrew Tisdale help you create a game plan for financial success? Call 828-287-9197 and get started today. That's Andrew Tisdale, 828-287-9197. Ellenboro Community is our next stop, and we'll check in over there with Luther Gilligan to see what the fire department's been doing and other news and current events that are happening there in our beautiful little town of Ellensboro. And I see my lights flashing, so he's on the air right now, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Luther Gilligan. Good morning.
Good morning, you two. Nice day down here this morning.
Good.
Rather cloudy, but hey, it's a nice day. We sit here drinking coffee. Good way to start the day.
It's a great way to start a day.
Yeah. It's fairly quiet, not a whole lot happening there. She's part of they're out on call now down Cliffside. Other than that, that's the only thing they've had the last 24 hours. And everybody just trying to get the biscuits to gas and head on out to work. So, you have a great day up there, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Luther, thank you very much. You behave yourself, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, take care.
All right, bye. Well, that leaves us time, and apparently all the fire departments basically on that end of the county out at Cliffside on that fire. We're unsure yet exactly which plant it is or what's on fire. We've had several reports, somebody sent me a note about it, but don't like to report anything off of Facebook or unless I can verify it. So we know there is a fire at Cliffside. One of the plants is all we know this morning, and several fire departments are there on the scene even as we speak. Perhaps we can get some more information as the day unfolds. Right now it's time for birthdays and anniversaries for this 9th day of February. February 9th, birthdays and anniversaries can be called in to us at 287-3356, 287-3356, and we'll take your call. Tracy's standing by out there to take that call, and she'd love to say hello to you. Happy birthday to you. Now, meanwhile, let's head over toward Washburn's store. Washburn Store. What a great place. Locally owned and historically significant. Been in the history books for a long time now on Archives of History, and you'll appreciate knowing that it's here once you go visit it. If you've never been, shame on you. If you've been, I know you know what I'm talking about because it is loaded with items, unique items you won't find on mainstream stores. So you need to get over there, including things you might want to get ready towards spring. They got some things to work in your garden with. Work gloves and all kinds of things, and overalls and pots and pans and everything that you might need. Just walk up down the aisle, you'll see for yourself, and maybe pick up some candy. That's Washburn General Store, between Bostic and Sunshine on the Bostic Sunshine Highway. Meanwhile, if you like to go by Granny B sometime today, they do a tremendous sub. They got a sub like nobody else. They make it, freshly make it for you right there, and they put in what you want to put into it, and we'll know that you'll enjoy it because we have many, many times loaded. You get that. I like that wheat bread. So get whatever bread you like. They got several choices, and get a sub the way you like it, and then top it off with a delicious daylight donut. Granny B's the place to be with you and your friends, or just a quiet corner booth there you can enjoy. All right, let's see.
Happy birthday.
I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Adrian Herron. He's 15 today. I want to wish Adrian a happy birthday and many more happy returns, Adrian. And thanks for sharing that with us, being a part of our morning Wake Up Birthday Call.
If we are going to succeed, we must believe that we can. David Schwartz said, "Believe, really believe that you can succeed, and you will." The story is told of a Russian schoolboy whose dad had said to him, "I'll always be there for you, son." Then one day a large earthquake shook the area, and included in the destruction was the school the boy was attending. The father dug through the rubble using nothing but his bare hands, refusing to give up even when observers suggested him to do so. The father held firm to his belief that he would find his son alive. Miraculously, after several days, the boy with several other children was pulled alive from the rubble. The children were sustained by the boy reminding them, "My Father will come. Believe me, He will come." Are you going through a time of great difficulty? Does it seem like you are down under the rubble of life? Hold on. It may not work out quite like our story, but your Father will come. Believe me, He will come. This is Bill Hostler with today's key to confident living. Scripture
Get your message to the thousands. Call the WCAB Sales Department today at 287-3356.
Russian forces will launch a major offensive in the next 10 days. That as Ukraine's president pleads for more weapons.
Zelensky in Paris, meeting French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Zelensky suggesting France and Germany could be game changers if they help supply Ukraine with longer-range missiles and Western-made fighter jets.
The Ukrainian leader making the same pitch at an EU summit today in Brussels. Meantime, in Turkey and Syria, the number of dead just keeps rising from the region's devastating earthquake. 17,000 killed so far and counting.
Members from the United States and other countries have been here. They're bringing their experience, their expertise, and also specialized equipment. Whenever they get a report of someone possibly alive in the rubble, they will go to that spot and search for them. It is work that has been frantic, and it happens very quickly.
ABC's Marcus Moore. In the U.S., crews are starting damage assessments this morning from a series of tornadoes that struck overnight in the south. One twister hit north of New Orleans.
When storm specialists arrive in Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana today, they'll find a whole neighborhood torn up.
I just purchased a new trailer, and this happened.
Kumora Cook's home was pulled off its blocks and thrown into a field with her inside.
All the windows was breaking in my new home, and like insulation was coming from everywhere, and the boards and stuff was coming through the trailer.
She was unhurt, but several family members who lived nearby were hospitalized with injuries when their home was hit as well. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
President Biden heads to Tampa today to tout his plans to protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare while lowering health care costs. The president also making news, telling PBS his classified documents were stray papers from 1974 and blaming office moves that were not done well.
They didn't do the kind of job that should have been done to go thoroughly through every single piece of literature that's there.
You're listening to ABC News.
You may know the story of Emmett Till, the 14-year-old boy who was brutally beaten and murdered in Mississippi. But you might have never heard his story if it weren't for one woman, his grieving mother, who turned her son's death into a rallying cry for justice.
A voice said to me, "The world will cry for Emmett Till."
From ABC Audio comes Reclaimed, the story of Mamie Till Mobley. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Wait a minute. You mean now I can listen to GMA any time of the day, anywhere?
Yes, that's exactly what we mean with the new Good Morning America podcast. Listen to all of GMA served up daily straight to you. Oh, Michael.
What? I'm listening to our new GMA podcast. It's really good.
Listen to the Good Morning America podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Subscribe now. It's really good.
A new look at jobs across the country this hour with the Labor Department's report on unemployment claims.
We've been hearing a lot about layoffs in the tech sector, but in other parts of the job market, hiring is still robust. Economists consider first-time unemployment filings a proxy for layoffs, and last week's jobless claims report shows those filings hit a 9-month low the previous week.
ABC's Daria Albinger. Disney, the parent company of ABC News, announcing it will be laying off about 7,000 people, 3% of its worldwide workforce. CEO Bob Iger making the announcement in his first earnings call since returning to the helm. President Biden also sending well wishes to Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who suffered a stroke last year, suffering a new health scare.
Fetterman's office said the Democratic senator was hospitalized at the George Washington University Hospital in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday after he was feeling lightheaded toward the end of a Senate Democrat retreat. A statement from his office says preliminary tests show no evidence of a stroke and that he remained overnight for observation. The incident likely to bring Fetterman's health front and center once again after he suffered a stroke last May, which became a key issue of his campaign last year. Mark Remillard, ABC News.
And a monster trade in the NBA. Sources tell ESPN the Brooklyn Nets are sending superstar Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns. He's the second star the Nets have shipped out this week. Kyrie Irving already traded to the Dallas Mavericks. This is ABC News.
In a small, close-knit community in Kansas, a group of men started meeting in secret. They were plotting an attack on a local Muslim community, one that could have killed hundreds.
It would have completely shaken the foundation of America
if it hadn't been stopped by one man. Truth and Lies, The Informant, a 5-part series from ABC Audio. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Derek Dennis, ABC.
It's a warm forecast for us today with temperatures in the low 70s under partly to mostly cloudy skies. We could see an isolated shower today and as we head into tonight, but very limited coverage. We'll drop into the low 50s tonight with mostly cloudy conditions lasting through the day tomorrow with scattered showers possible tomorrow afternoon and evening. So just a little bit unsettled the next several days with a few isolated rain chances. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
It's cloudy outside, but it's warming up nicely. It started out at 45 this morning. Already we're at 52, warming up to 66 for our daytime high. Maybe some showers developing later this afternoon and tonight, but it's going to be a fairly warm day, almost spring-like day out there today. Again, right now, 52 degrees according to Peter, the meter reader. It's 5 minutes after 8 o'clock. We have guests this hour, a couple of different guests, and we'll talk with them in just a few moments. But right now, we're going to have a drawing for another Be My Baby Valentine promotion. And Tracy in the Blue Room with me right now to do that work. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
It's glad to have you doing the Valentine work for us.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy it, as always.
Good. What are we giving away?
Well, we are giving away today a dozen carnations, compliments of the Spindale florist, and Brenda has always been very good to help us with that.
They do a great job over there.
Yeah, they really do. But that is going to be our gift today, for one of our preliminary gifts.
By the way, folks, you need to come by and pick these up. Promise the certificates to take it over there to these people when you win something.
Yep. We've had 3 drawings now, and this is our 4th. And, of course, we went ahead and drew the card, and the winner of the dozen carnations goes to Weston and Sandy Clintonoff of Mooresboro.
Okay.
So come pick up your dozen carnations and certificate.
We'll have a certificate here to take over there, and we appreciate you entering. And you'll be in the drawing for the grand prize as well. And we'll have a couple more drawings today here. Some other great prizes. I saw some good barbecue certificates up there, some other things. So it's going to be a good day, good Valentine, and we appreciate you being part of it. You can still get your card into us. You can bring it by if you like. 191 Whiteside Road, just hand carry it to us, or you still want to drop it in the mail. We may not get it by 14th up, so I wouldn't trust that too much. I'd just bring it on by.
Yep.
And we'll have it in our hands in time for the drawings and be in preliminary. Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we got guests coming up here in just a few moments, and we'll usher them back to the Blue Room right after this.
Santa-size your shopping this holiday season with a gift from Bark Mobile. Right now, gift yourself a new device and Bark Mobile will gift you back. Get 100% of the cost of your device back in monthly credits on select devices. For extra Yule in your pocket, Santa-size your service with unlimited data. Text all your friends and family or stream your holiday favorites. Just $35 per month per line for 2 lines with autopay. It's Santa-size deals right from the North Pole to North Carolina. Certain restrictions apply. See store for details or visit mybarkmobile.com/terms and conditions.
Too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing, like too many sprays of cologne, too many loops in a roller coaster, or too many rescue cats. But you can never have too many chances to win. That's why new Multiply the Cash scratch-offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery have more chances to win than ever before. With chances to multiply your win on the front and back, too much is just right. Easy, kitty. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning range from 1 in 3.24 to 4.83. Problem gambling helpline, 877-718-5543.
This is a special announcement from your Small Business Center. If you filed as a sole proprietor before December the 1st, 2017, it expired December the 1st, 2022. We need your assistance in refiling that with the Register of Deeds. All you need to do is go by and give them your information again, and you will remain active. If you have any questions about this announcement, please call Faye Bishop at the Small Business Center, 828-395-1667. Thank you.
It's 8:09 right now. We do have special guests. As I mentioned to you earlier, we have a guest this segment and the next segment as well. But right now, we're in the studio with me. I'm going to slide over this other microphone. It's Stephanie All and also Joni Carney is with me in the Blue Room this morning to talk about an event I've just learned about and got excited to hear about it, and I wanted you to know more about it. And Stephanie and Joni are here to talk about it at the Sanctuary at Red Bell Run. Stephanie, good morning. Welcome. Turn that microphone a little closer to you there. Go ahead.
How are you doing?
Doing great. It's good to see you.
Good.
We've met for the first time this morning.
I know, yeah.
I hope it won't be the last time.
I hope not either.
Tell me about this place at here, the sanctuary at Red Bell Run. What is that all about?
So we are a sanctuary for rescued equines, all from all over the United States. One of them actually is from Spain, so he's our farthest rescue. But we rescue equines from all over the U.S., and we're a sanctuary for them. So they all stay with us because they're medically or behaviorally compromised. Okay. So they're living with us for the rest of their lives, getting top-notch care.
When you say rescue, it means their physical health's not good? Or?
Well, they're rescued from a variety of animal cruelty, neglect, abuse situations, and then they all have some sort of medical compromise or behavioral compromise that makes them unadoptable.
Okay. Now, how did you get involved with this?
Oh, I've been involved with horses and stuff since I was like 5 years old, so I'm very blessed to be able to be here. Yeah.
And what is your task over there? You're a volunteer or you're on staff?
No, I'm on staff. I'm the volunteer coordinator, among many other things. Yeah.
I bet it's exciting. How many animals are you currently housing?
Around 150.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot, and it's all types of equines, so that encompasses horses, ponies, donkeys, mules, hennies, everything under that species.
How are you notified when you learn about an animal that needs this kind of care? Does somebody notify you, or are you out searching for these animals?
Since we're a sanctuary, we don't do intakes very often because they're with us for the rest of their lives. But we do, when we do intake, we either do it through animal control, so law enforcement partnerships, or through our other 501c3 rescue partners from across the U.S., and then rarely through a vet-recommended surrender.
That sounds great. I want to talk about an event coming up in just a few moments, but let's introduce Johnny Carney here.
Hi.
Johnny, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm going to flip this microphone back and forth here. Johnny, I know you're a volunteer out there. That's how I learned about this from you. What got you involved?
Well, I've wanted a Mini for many, many years, my whole life. I had ponies growing up, and when Nick and I retired here, my dream was to have a couple Minis. And I wanted to learn more about them first before I made that commitment, and I'm glad I did, because there's a lot involved, and it's a huge commitment. It's a lot of money to take care of them, and after volunteering, I realized probably wasn't a good idea for me to get a couple Minis at my age because they might outlive me, and I didn't have the need because I have 14 of them there that I can go see anytime and love on and take care of, and so that was my original intent. I wanted a Mini, and I felt like it wasn't going to happen, so I Googled equine rescue near me, and Red Bell Run came up, and I contacted Stephanie immediately. I think I was out there the next day for a tour, and now I'm out there as much as I can.
What entails looking after one of these? Do you have to walk them every day, feed them, play with them? What do you do?
It depends what hours. The morning hours are more cleanup, cleaning the stalls, changing the water. Afternoons are more grooming, cleaning up the stalls, picking up the pastures, walking them, kissing them a lot. I like the exercise in the morning of cleaning the stalls and just helping with all the more labored work, and I love grooming them in the afternoon. My favorite part is putting them to bed each night. The other night, Mackenzie was in doing the meds, and I was out just listening to them eat their hay. And so that I'm in the middle of the barn, and all of them had their grain bowls and their hay, and I just stood there in the silence for a moment, listening to them eat, and my heart was just full because I looked around at all these little Minis that came from not great conditions, and they're so well cared for, spoiled, like really spoiled. You can't get their hay there fast enough because they'll start making a ruckus, like hurry up, you know. And it just was, I just stood there in the silence listening to them eat, and I felt so good.
What do you have more of? Do you have more Minis or regular-sized horses or donkeys, ponies, or what?
Stephanie can answer that better. I work at Mini Heaven, which is the barn with Minis, and there's 14 right now.
14,
right?
15-ish.
14, 15. But Stephanie can better answer
I want to say we have a lot of donkeys. We're definitely long ears lovers, is what we say. But we have about 15 barns total, and all the equines are split up into those barns based on their needs, and their species. So Joni said she works at Mini Heaven, which is where most of our miniature horses are. And then we have Long Ears Lodge and Long Ears Lounge, which is where most of our donkeys are. But
And they're adorable.
yeah, they're
smart.
so cute.
They are so. I had no idea donkeys were so smart and loving. Like the little mini horses, when they come up to me, they really just want a treat. They don't want a hug. And I feel like when I'm overworking with the donkeys, they would prefer the hug instead of the treat.
And donkeys are not known for that. They're known to being stubborn animals.
They are?
It's actually a misconception. They're stubborn, but it's because they're very intelligent.
That makes
They
sense.
stop and think about things before they
Mhm.
act, yeah.
You can almost see them thinking about things.
But that's interesting. Now, there's an event coming up, a Peck-a-Pony miniature horse coming up. Tell me about that.
Yes, so we are having a kissing booth.
Kissing booth for ponies.
With our miniature ponies. So it originally was supposed to be this weekend, but we've had to postpone it out to February 18th, next Saturday, because it's not going to be great weather this weekend. So February 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. out at the sanctuary. It's a free event, family friendly. We'll have a kissing booth with our miniature horses and some fun games, raffles, and it'll just be. Yep.
Now, in the kissing booth, do you pay of course to kiss the donkey, or how do you raising the funds?
So we're offering it to the public for free, but donations are accepted.
Okay. What is your fundraising effort? How do you fund the place?
Oh, so we are a nonprofit, so it's all through donations from the public and our supporters and grants and things like that.
I'm not familiar with this. Are there operations like this all over the country, or is this unique?
This is a pretty unique operation in the sense of it's a sanctuary, so we don't adopt out our animals. Those are a bit more common, but there's not a lot of sanctuaries that provide care for the rest of their lives and take in the unadoptable ones.
Now, if you know of some place somewhere that they have maybe a horse they're not taken care of, and the horse looks terrible, could that be reported to you folks? We'll go check it out, or how does that work?
We have good relationships with our animal control officers in the surrounding counties, so we would do our best to provide the resources and do what we can to help.
Now, where's the place located?
We are in Columbus, right off of Chesney Road.
Up at Chesney Road. Okay, to get to the event on the 18th of February, what's the best way from here for folks to get to you?
Oh, that is not a question to ask me.
You can go out Horsford Road all the way to the end. Take a right. It's about a mile up on the right. Real easy.
You'll see vineyards from the road. We have 40 acres of vineyards as well. Yeah.
So the event itself, of course, is February the 8th, but the
18th.
I'm sorry, 18th, yeah, and the sanctuary at Red Bell Run, is it open to the public anytime to visit?
Since we are a working farm, we do offer tours, but it's by appointment.
Okay, by appointment.
And you can book that through our website. Super easy.
It seemed like an ideal place for schools to bring the students out to.
We actually just had Fernleaf Charter School come out on Monday to actually read to the miniature horses. Their
Read
kids.
to them?
They do.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Yeah, we're always
Next to
accepting
the
of.
stall and read to the minis. And the minis are very interested.
Oh, they love it.
They do. It's really a neat event.
What do they read to them?
Whatever book they want to bring.
They have a pile of books, and they choose book, and they sit there and they read to their little mini.
I would suspect after people go out there and see what you have, I suspect we all would have a greater respect for animals.
I would sure hope so. And a greater respect for the people that care for animals. There's a lot involved.
Joni, you're to be commended for jumping in and helping out there. I know they were glad to have you as a volunteer, and you seem to really love it.
I really love it. I do. It's nice. Nick jokes once in a while, and he'll say that it's saved him money. Like, I have 14 minis, and I just show up.
Stephanie, are you still needing volunteers?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. What must they do?
In order to become a volunteer, there's a volunteer application on our website, redbellrun.org, and then they can submit that application and it comes to me automatically. And then I schedule a tour with them to come out and see what we do and then set them up with an orientation.
Is there a plan where folks could put the donations like on a monthly give? Is there a plan they can do that? And
We do
give
have
money?
that option on our website. We have a donate tab, and you can sign up for a one-time or a recurring gift.
Okay, great. Well, this has been exciting to have you by. Johnny Carney, I'll come out. I sure will. And Stephanie All is your volunteer coordinator. Is that right? Volunteer coordinator?
Many things.
And yeah, wear many hats, right?
Plus. Yeah.
Yeah. How many staff members are there?
Around 50.
Really? Wow. I'm more and
Can
more.
I say this about the owner, Mary? So for the longest time, I worked there for 2 months. I didn't know who Mary was. I'd seen her in the office multiple times, just hello with everybody else. And there was a fundraiser that I helped out with, and I thought, well, I should know who Mary is. And I didn't want to ask, who's Mary, right when I first started working there. So this fundraiser I'm helping with, I say to, I can't remember, it was Stephanie, one of the gals, I said, by the way, who's Mary? She looked at me, she said, right there, that's Mary. And my point of mentioning this is because Mary just blends in with all the employees and does everything will do that everybody else does. I don't know how to put that into words too well, but it was just interesting that I'd met her so many times and didn't even know she was the owner because she's part of the, yes.
We're running out of time here. I've got to move on, but again, the date is February the 18th, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And it's open to anybody who wants to come. And there'll be opportunity to read to the ponies or not?
Probably not at this event, but we do have a Read with Rescues program that's starting up in the spring where they can sign up to come bring their kids to read. Yeah, we have a lot of activities. Check out the...
tail on a donkey.
Yeah.
Pin the tail on the donkey.
How long since you've played that game, huh?
We won't go there. What's the address?
385 Blackwood Road.
385
Blackwood Road.
Blackwood Road. A lot of folks, we have a lot of listeners over there. Blackwood Road.
And Columbus.
In Columbus, okay. So those in Polk County know where that is. Those of Rutherford County have been in Polk County enough to find 385 Blackwood Road. February the 18th, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. Stephanie, it's good to meet you. Good to have you here to find out the kind of life you're living with a bunch of animals that you love.
It's great. Thank you for having
Joan,
us.
it's good to see you again.
Thank you. Great to see you, Jim.
Glad you volunteered.
Not as much as I am. I love it there.
And I'll be back in just a moment. We have the Sheriff's Report coming up in 8:30. We've got another guest in the studio, or he's on the phone with us. He's written a book on Abraham Lincoln, early days of Abraham Lincoln. We'll talk to him about that new book. All that straight ahead. Stand by.
Shopping for your Valentine can be a breeze this year when you shop at Butler's Jewelry and Loan in downtown Forest City. You can find the perfect gift from the wide selection of rings, pendants, chains, earrings, and necklaces. Choose the gift that says how much you really care. After selecting the perfect gift, Butler's will be glad to wrap the gift for you free of charge. Ask about the custom imprinting of the name or a special message on the gift. Make Valentine's Day real special this year. You can do that with a stop at Butler's Jewelry and Loan in downtown Forest City.
There are plenty of drugstores in Rutherford County, but not all of them offer the same personal customer service that is offered at the Medicine Box of Rutherfordton. Laura Hodge and her team have trusted experience and professional service. You're not just a number to them, you're a friend. Make the Medicine Box of Rutherfordton your hometown drugstore at 200 Charlotte Road in Rutherfordton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 1, 287-7117.
The Sheriff's Report was given to us this morning by Officer King. We have it recorded for broadcast at this time. Officer King?
In the past 24 hours, the Sheriff's Department responded to 163 calls for service. There were 10 arrests processed in the jail, and the jail currently has 170 people incarcerated. On our incident reports, Brandon Ross from Whiteside Road in Forest City reported obtaining property by false pretense. And a Ashley Burleson from DePriest Road in Boston reported a misdemeanor larceny. That's all for the incident reports. On our arrest reports, Benjamin Sane from Pleasant Hill Road in Rutherfordton was served with a warrant for possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana up to half an ounce, and possession of marijuana paraphernalia, and he received a $500 secured bond. Lisa Wilson from Rosie Lane in Rutherford was arrested and charged with possession of marijuana paraphernalia, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of marijuana up to half ounce. Received a $500 secured bond. Thomas Reed from Burt Hutchins Road in Forest City was arrested and charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana paraphernalia, and possession of marijuana up to a half ounce. And he received a $1,000 secured bond. Christopher Green from Maple Street in Rutherford was served with 2 counts of failure to appear on misdemeanor, received a $1,500 cash bond. William Bailey from Wreck Drive in Rutherford was served with 2 counts of failure to appear on misdemeanor, received a $1,000 secured bond. Keon Hamrick from MacArthur Street in Forest City was served with a child support warrant, received a $500 cash bond. Devin Young from Highway 64 in Rutherford was served with 2 felony probation violations and also failure to appear on misdemeanor, received a $36,000 secured bond. Richard Farrell from Boston Sunshine Highway in Boston was served with 2 counts of true bills of indictment, received a $2,500 secured bond. Alvin Vickers from 221 South Highway in Rutherford was served with warrant for possession of firearm by felon, received a $5,000 secured bond. David Carroll from McIntyre Road in Tryon, North Carolina, was served with a failure to appear on felony, received a $5,000 secured bond. Jason Thompson from Race Path Church Road in Ellenboro was served with a warrant for possession of a controlled substance on jail premises and also providing drugs to an inmate, received a $40,000 secured bond. David Langley from Luckadoo Mountain Road in Bostic was served with a warrant for trafficking in methamphetamine, maintaining a vehicle or dwelling place for controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia, and received a $15,000 secured bond. And that's all we have for today.
ncfarmstress.org today. That's ncfarmstress.org, providing help and hope for stressful times.
Join PBS North Carolina as we explore the world around us through stories that illuminate and moments that inspire. From PBS favorites like Masterpiece to local programs that celebrate our state and people. From educational resources for kids to emergency briefings that keep us secure. PBS North Carolina offers endless possibilities for discovery and wonder. Follow your curiosity at pbsnc.org.
The Los Angeles Lakers are trading Russell Westbrook to Utah and reacquiring guard D'Angelo Russell from Minnesota in a 3-team, 8-player deal. Los Angeles is also getting guard Malik Beasley and forward Jared Vanderbilt from the Jazz, bolstering its core around LeBron James in a bid to jumpstart its sputtering season. The Lakers fell to 25-30 on Tuesday, while James set the NBA's career scoring record, and they sit 13th place in the 15-team Western Conference. Last night in the NBA, Washington beat Charlotte 118-104. In college basketball, NC A&T beat Elon 66-61. College of Charleston destroyed UNCW 93-61. Tonight in college basketball, App State plays LA Monroe at 7:30, and UNC Charlotte faces UTEP. I'm Nate Saunders, NCN Sports.
It's a warm forecast for us today with temperatures in the low 70s under partly to mostly cloudy skies. We could see an isolated shower today and as we head into tonight, but very limited coverage. We'll drop into the low 50s tonight with mostly cloudy conditions lasting through the day tomorrow with scattered showers possible tomorrow afternoon and evening. So just a little bit unsettled the next several days with a few isolated rain chances. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
We have cloudy skies here in the foothills, about a 52-degree temperature reading. It started out at 45 up to 52 now, climbing to about 60, with some possible scattered showers later in the afternoon, according to one report I'm seeing. Another report doesn't show any rain at all, so we'll wait and see. We'll play a guessing game. Will it or will it not rain this afternoon? But we got some beautiful weather anyway, springtime-like weather. Coming up in just a few moments, John Cribb will be my guest. He's written several books. He's the one we'll talk to him about this morning. Is one called The Rail Splitter, one of the stories about Abraham Lincoln, and it's a history of educational story, but it's a novel, but based on fact. A real Rail Splitter tells the story of Lincoln's journey from a log cabin to the threshold of the White House, and we'll talk with John Cribb about that in just a moment.
You made a list, checked it twice, and now it's time to shop. Get a great deal for everyone on your list at Carolina West Wireless. Enjoy a sleigh full of savings for the whole family with unlimited data for just $25 per month per line for 4 lines with autopay. Plus, get up to $1,000 in savings when you bring your own devices. How's that for a stocking stuffer? Get everything you need for everyone on your list, all for a great deal, only from Carolina West Wireless. Certain restrictions apply. See store for details or visit www.carolinawest.com/terms and conditions. Offer expires January 9th, 2023.
9:05 this morning, we will have My Great America with Jimmy and Butch. We'll have that program right here on the radio at 9:05 this morning. And we've been promising you, telling you this morning, I have a special exciting guest I want to talk to and meet for the first time myself, John Cribb. John is a best-selling author who has written about subjects ranging from history to education. His novel, Old Abe, has been held for its vivid portrayal of Abraham Lincoln. His previous work includes co-authoring the American Patriot's Almanac and The Educated Child, both New York Times bestsellers, co-editing The Human Odyssey, a 3-volume world history text, and on and on we go. He also has appeared on numerous television, radio, and podcast shows such as C-SPAN's Washington Journal and Fox News, Fox and Friends. And I know the highlight of his career is being with us right here on WCAB. Good morning, John. Welcome to our show.
Good morning. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
Quite a noted author and celebrity within your own rights, being on television. I wanted to talk. I'm a big Abraham Lincoln fan, and when I saw that you had written another book on The Rail Splitter, I wanted to get you on and let our listeners know more about you as an author and a little bit about why you chose Abraham Lincoln to be one of your writers. Let's talk first, before you get to The Rail Splitter, let's talk about the elephant, Old Abe. What fascinated you about Abraham Lincoln?
You know, I've been interested in Lincoln since I was young, and what caught me was when I was, really young, my mom used to read to us, books before we could even read ourselves, and one of the books she read to us was an old book called Abe Lincoln, Frontier Boy, and those stories of him, out on the Indiana and then Illinois frontiers, studying by firelight and splitting rails and all that stuff just really grabbed my imagination. And so I've been a Lincoln fan for pretty much my whole life.
John, that says something too about you said your mother used to read to you. I think that's so important as families and children in the homes, how important it is for parents to read to the children. And obviously it had paid great dividends in your life.
Yeah, it's a real, it's a lesson that those books that we expose people to when they're very young can really have a lifelong impact. And in my case, it ended up with me, here all these years later, writing a couple of novels about Abraham Lincoln.
Now, this book, The Rail Splitter, I've read parts of it through the spinning down the email, The Rail Splitter.
Yeah.
It tells the story of Abraham Lincoln's earlier life as a youngster growing up. Trace a little bit of that story for us in your mind.
Yeah, it begins with Lincoln in the summer of 1826 on the frontier, the Indiana frontier. He did a lot of his growing up in a tiny little settlement called Little Pigeon Creek, about 15 or 20 miles from the Ohio River. And then you're just at his side every page as he goes from the, Indiana woods to the Illinois prairies, and he, splits all those thousands of rails, and he rafts down the Mississippi River a couple of times like Huck Finn, and he meets and courts and marries Mary Todd, and then, rises in the world of politics, and then steps onto the really national stage for the first time in the great Lincoln-Douglas debates of 1858. And that's where it leaves him, is right after the Lincoln-Douglas debates, right when he's ready to run for the White House. So it's really, the Rail Splitter is the story of that just remarkable journey he made from a very humble log cabin to the threshold of the White House. I think it's a fascinating story. It's an important story for Americans to know. In a lot of ways, it is the story of the American dream.
You know, and right off the bat, as I read some of the earlier paper, right off the bat, you established the kind of character that Abraham Lincoln was in that as a young boy, he wanted to return that book that belonged to somebody else in spite of the fact that his dad wanted him to go to work out in the field.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a true story, according to people that knew him. He borrowed he loved to read, even though he had very little schooling. Abraham Lincoln had less than 1 year of, schooling his whole life. That took place in little log cabin schoolhouses. But he loved learning. He loved to read, and he really would walk miles to get hold of a book if he could. And he borrowed a biography about George Washington from a neighboring farmer. The farmer's name was Hosea Crawford. This is in southern Indiana. And he took it home, and he slept in the loft of the Lincoln cabin under the roof. And one night it rained, and he'd put the book in a little cubby, and the rain comes in, and it ruins this book. It soaks it. It ruins it. And so he's horrified because books are so precious. But he has to walk. He walks over to this farmer's place, and he shows it to him. And he says, "I can't pay for it. I don't have any money, but I can work for it." And the book was worth 75 cents. And so young Abe Lincoln spent a day's wage for working in a cornfield back then was 25 cents a day, believe it or not. So he spends 3 days working for this book to pay off his book in Cy Crawford's cornfield. It's a great story about, both honesty and, that took some integrity, and it took some courage on the part of a young person to go over and say, look, this is what I've done. I've messed up, and let me make it right. So it's a kind of wonderful story, inspirational story that Lincoln's life is full of, I think.
Yeah. It speaks of the character that I think most of us recognize from our reading of Abraham Lincoln, the kind of man that he really was. Now, is there a follow-up on the rail splitter to where he goes to the White House?
Yeah, that's Old Abe, which actually came out a couple of years ago. It's also a historical novel. I kind of wrote these things in reverse order. And Old Abe tells the story of the last five years of his life. So it picks up in the spring of 1860. Where the rail splitter leaves off, and when he's being nominated for the presidency. And then again, you're at his side every page as he goes through those last 5 years of his life. So you're with him for big iconic events like the Gettysburg Address and the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. And then, like as in the rail splitter, a lot of lesser known events like when his son Willie dies in the White House, or the night the White House stables catch on fire, and he rushes out and tries to force his way into this burning inferno because his boys' ponies and pet goats are in there, and he wants to try to get them out. So these books are historical novels because I really want to try to bring them alive for readers. And fiction can do that, but I tried to make them as accurate as possible. So he's not chasing vampires or killing zombies or anything. This is the real Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, good. Can these be bought as together packages? Or?
Yeah, they're separate books, and the Rail Splitters just come out, but they're both should be available anywhere, online. Or I always tell people support your local independent bookstore if you can, and but they're available everywhere.
John, when I read books such as this one, as well written as yours is, when I read something like this, and I'm anxious to get my hands on a hard copy, but I see a movie or TV show in there. Is that something in your mind that you'd like to do with these books?
I would love it, and we've had a couple of very preliminary conversations about that with some people. But those things take a long time. But I would love to see a limited series since the two books cover his whole life. Mm-hmm. A streaming series that would just follow him through his life like these two books are, because his life was such an amazing life of adventure, for one thing, that I think it'd be fascinating watching just as it is fascinating reading,
I think so too. The several books I have in my library and is about Abraham Lincoln, and some of them having to do with his presidency and his debating skills, and coming from such a background of you would not think would ever arise to anything of prominence, but it shows that you can move up from almost nothing to become a major leader in our country, forming a nation.
Absolutely, and as I say, it really is in a lot of ways the quintessential American success story and the story of the American dream. And those virtues that he had, like willingness to work really hard and self-reliance and perseverance and that burning desire to learn, it's a real lesson for us that those virtues can take us all a very long way in life.
Are you working on a third one right now?
I am not. I'm just out there kind of, ushering this book out the door right now. But I would love. I think I won't do any more Lincoln because these two books really do, take through his whole life. But I would love to pick out another great historical figure and write a historical novel about that person. So I'm sure my mind will be turning to that soon.
How many hours of research goes into a book such as this one?
Well, I don't know the hours, but I'll tell you the answer to that question is a little bit embarrassing. I got the idea to do this way back in, believe it or not, 2006. And so you can do the math. The second book is just finally, come out the door. And my wife teases me. She says, John, it only took 4 years to fight the Civil War. It's taken you 4 times that length of time. Now, in my defense, this was not a full-time job. I mean, I had other things going on. So, it was a labor of love, but a part-time labor of love. But, I mean, thousands of hours. Now, I've got probably 300 books about Abraham Lincoln on my bookshelves alone at home. And of course, traveled all the places that he's been. And so, and there are, there's so much great research out there on Lincoln because there's so many wonderful historians that have, labored long and hard to bring his work, his life to light, and these books would not exist without generations of, historians, both professional and amateurs, studying his life.
Other than Abraham Lincoln, what are some other books that you've written?
I've written, the other stuff has been nonfiction. For example, co-wrote a book called The American Patriots Almanac. I wrote that with Bill Bennett, who used to be Secretary of Education way back in the Reagan days, and is an old colleague and friend of mine. And it's a book that has a story for every day of the year. It just tells it a story from American history in it, and it is usually what happened on that particular calendar day. So that's called the American Patriots Almanac. So, I've written a lot on kind of history and education, that kind of thing. But these two books are my first novels.
Yeah. John, you may or may not know this, but those of us here in North Carolina and Rutherford County, where we're operating from, we believe the fact that Abraham Lincoln was actually born here.
Yeah, I know. And, I live in Spartanburg.
Oh,
and I do. Yeah, I'm just down the road from you.
Yes.
And I need to get to Bostwick because I've, heard the stories and read about it. And when I was writing these books, I deliberately didn't do that, just as I didn't, for example, read other novels about. There's certain things I just wanted to not be influenced by. But because I'm following the story of him being born in Kentucky. But I really need to get to the museum in Bostwick and talk to those folks because I get asked about it a lot, and I'm very curious about it.
I wish you would. If you come up, get in touch with me. We'll go out there together and I'll introduce you to some folks. I think you'd be fascinated with what they have, the memorabilia they have, and the facts that back it up, the fact that he was actually born here. And there is even a route to go out to where his homestead was.
Yeah. I would. It'd be a lot of fun. I think, and I think it's wonderful that Abraham Lincoln is such a large figure that people in North Carolina, they claim a piece of him too, as do some people in South Carolina. There's a similar story about South Carolina, down around the Anderson area.
Quick story: years and years ago, when I was just a real small kid, my dad was a pastor. Southern Baptist pastor, and he pastored a church called Concord Baptist Church over near Boston. And when I was a little kid, I remember the ladies of the church and the gentlemen too talking about Abraham Lincoln's mother being on the church roll at Concord Baptist Church. Her name was on the church roll. Of course, that church in the past had burned down; all the records were burned up. But these folks were old enough; they remembered the history of his mother actually going to church there at Concord and was on the church roll as a member.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Well, like I say, I need to get up there and poke around into that.
Yeah. So, John, is the book already out now, coming out today, or when's it coming out?
It came out just a couple of weeks ago. The Rail Splitter is been about 2 weeks now.
Okay.
So it's still brand new.
Best place to get it, Amazon or where?
Yeah, Amazon, or as I say, local bookstores I think are always great, but it's online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all those places too.
John Cribb, the author of a couple of books about Abraham Lincoln, the most recent one called Rail Splitter, and I hope, folks, that you'll be fascinated with Abraham Lincoln as we are and go get a copy of this book. And, John, I hope to have you back on the program sometime, and thanks for being with us this morning.
I'd love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good God. I didn't realize he was from Spartanburg, South Carolina, so that makes him our neighbor. So, again, the book is called The Rail Splitter, Early Days of Abraham Lincoln. And I've read excerpts of it from what they sent me. So get a hold of that book. It's 8:45, 9:05 this morning. My Great America, which we talk about Abraham Lincoln, is part of our Great America, and we'll talk with Butch at 9:05 this morning about that. And I think this month is President's Day birthdays, and we'll see what happens. Right after this, we'll be back.
We all sometimes need a towing service, bad weather, or you just get stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire, or even worse. Call on Tri-City Towing Services of Darrell Burnett. Towing services for big trucks as well as cars and SUVs. He has a rollback service to get you safely to a garage. With years of experience, you're in good hands with Tri-City Towing. Put this number in your phone, 828-305-7707. That's 305-7707. Have it handy when you need it. Remember the name, Tri-City Towing, 1101 West Main Street in Forest City. Bostic Florist now has a showroom full of gorgeous home decor. Now available, stylish lamps, a new line of candles called Root Candles, wreaths, beautiful lifelike artificial flowers and plants, and so much more. And of course, they always have been and will be your local hometown friendly florist that can deliver some of the most beautiful arrangements. Or if you have an event coming up, call on Bostic Florist. They have trained professionals to help make your day special. Whatever it is, they're located at 196 North Main Street in Bostic. And don't forget, Valentine's Day is February the 14th. Get your orders in.
I'm going to step away from the microphone in just a few moments, get to rest the old vocal cords. Get ready for My Great America with Jim and Butch in just a few months. But let me ask you this. What do you know about the most popular baby names anymore, boys and girls? You know, you used to name babies after granddads or national leaders or something. According to this report I pulled up the other day, I thought it was interesting. Here are some of the names that they're saying are prominent now in terms of naming babies, and I'll tell you the girls in just a moment. I don't recognize hardly any of these names, but let's see if you do. Aire, Soren, Theodore, Royal, Atticus, Felix, Silas, Arlo, I remember Arlo Guthrie, I remember him, Oliver, Cassius, Hugo, Caspian, Oscar, Killian, Milo, Otto, August, Atlas, Jude, I know a Jude, Cyrus. Those are some of the baby boys' names. Some of the girls' names are the same. Aire. Luxury is the name. Esty, Ariella, Maeve, Isla, Eloise, Alice, Luna, Ophelia, Aurora, Cora, Ava, Iris, Daphne, Violet, Freya, Clara, Eleanor, and Evangeline. Those are some of the boys and girls' names that they're telling us are the new names of this year. Well, I don't know. Well, I guess you can name your baby whatever you want to name your baby. The point is you need to love that baby. And as we talked earlier with John, read to those children as you can every opportunity that you get. Love those babies, and for goodness sakes, don't ever think about aborting that baby. All right, let me see. I got to make room here, get room for My Great America. Butch is on the phone with me today, and we'll do that here. Got a couple of songs we're going to play going down memory lane. Let me get out here and rest up a little bit, get my voice back in tune, and I'll be back with My Great America with Jim and Butch in just a few moments.
You saw me cry.
women, solos, and team drivers play in what's making America great. And Jim, have you been to the Florida Keys before?
I've been to Key West, but that's the only one I've been to. I understand it's a beautiful part of the country.
Well, it's gorgeous, and I love history, so I was trying to learn a little bit more about Key Largo. Key Largo was actually found, the name Key Largo, on a map that was prepared in 1639 by Dutch cartographer Johannes Bingbons. It was named Cayo de 12 Leaguas, the islet of 12 leagues, and sometime later it was called Cayo Largo, meaning long islet, and, Spanish explorers were the ones who came here, and that was around the 16th century, and when they came, Jim, the area was mostly uninhabited. It was only sparsely inhabited by some indigenous people groups, and the early description came on maps. And what they learned, by the way, is that the first descriptions of Key Largo came from somebody named Hernando de Escalante Fontaneda, and he was a survivor of a shipwreck, and he lived alone among the Calusa people from 1549 to 1566. So the earliest references in writing to Key Largo actually came from somebody that survived the shipwreck and just became embraced by the indigenous Indian groups that were here.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and for people that wonder where it is, if you look at your map, you know what's so interesting is, Jim, I had a geography class when I was growing up. Did you?
I did have a geography class in high school.
I don't know that they do that anymore. I mean, they're going to have people teach young people about the right pronouns to use, but if you ask them, where's Detroit, Michigan, they can't find it on a map. It's terrible.
Really?
Yeah, but Key Largo, for those that are interested, is situated right between the Everglades National Park, that's to the northwest, and John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park, that's to the east. And this is the first underwater park in the United States, and it protects part of the Florida Reef, the only living coral barrier reef in the continental United States. And it's just a reminder to me, Jim, that our nation is so beautiful. When the words were penned to America the Beautiful, it couldn't even contain the beauty, diversity of this wonderful country that we live in. The Keys are the longest living coral reef in America. It's 221 miles from Key Largo and continues southwest to the Dry Tortugas National Park. And these coral reefs are protection. It keeps the waves from crashing ashore, which causes erosion. And this also means the water inshore of the coral reefs is shallower and more calm. The highest point on Key Largo is only 15 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Which is why when we get hurricanes and other things here, it's why there's such a concern, because there's just not, it's not like you have mountains or even undulating hills to deal with the surges of stormwater when you have a big hurricane. Now, Jim, sometimes people that have not been here before worry because they wonder if there's been a sewer leak, because you get these odors from time to time. But the bad smells here, I learned, are usually from rotting sorghum seaweed and other organic matter. Yeah. And so some people say, did a sewer break somewhere? But it's not that. It's just seaweed that's up on the beach that's rotting and decomposing.
I think the Keys aren't the Keys one of the major locations for cruise ships? When they come in, they'll stop off one of the Keys for a day and let the people on the ocean liner visit a while around.
Yes, it is. And of course, anybody that's ever driven down US 1 to the Florida Keys will notice some signs for Lake Surprise before you reach Key Largo, and it is a surprise because it's also home to American crocodiles.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, it gets better. There are also a number of Burmese pythons that have been found on Key Largo and a few in the lower Keys, and these came from people that had pythons, snakes, as pets, Jim, and then decided to turn them loose when they got too big. So there are Burmese pythons that some are huge. I'm talking about, 15, 20 feet long that are here in Key Largo. So you want to watch where you're walking. The other thing that's kind of interesting is around Key West, Jim, and this is also true in Hawaii for different reasons on the island of Kauai. You see chickens running around. You'll see chickens just running around, and it's thought that they're descendants of the jungle fowl that was originally found throughout the Caribbean, including Cuba. And the early settlers in Key West had just a very normal relationship with their chickens. They kept them in coops, they were pets, and they used them for food. So descendants of those you'll see running around.
My goodness, I don't remember. It seemed like I do remember some chickens crossing the road when I was at Key West.
Yeah,
but I just thought they were trying to get across the road.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to segue from that, and I'm going to quickly move from that, and also let you know there's one more meteorological thing. There are many more things to say about Key Largo and the Keys, but this is very interesting. There has never been a recorded case of frost here.
Interesting.
So on those days where it's cold and often, and we're wondering about the weather and what's going to happen next, we can be certain of the fact historically that there's never been a recorded case of frost here in Key Largo. So those are a couple of little pithy factoids and nuggets about where I am. I'll be coming back with Jordan, God willing, tomorrow night, and be back there in the Blue Room with you on Tuesday, Jim. But that's why we're here. And again, it's such a blessing. God has really honored and blessed the faithful work and efforts of Josh Farmer, Ray Farmer, and Joyce Secura, the VP of Operations, and just the whole team there. And so we're blessed to be able to be here with these other carriers, these 11 other carriers honored as Innovators of the Year for 2022.
They should be honored that they are in that list of priorities there, because that's good. One quick question before you leave the history. What is the main industry? Is it tourism there in the...
Tourism, yeah.
That's what I thought it might be.
It's tourism, and they actually are hosting us here at a resort that is just beautiful, and the day is just, I think it's 74 degrees, and the day is just blue skies, and I'm sitting under a palm tree, and I'm watching the gentle, windy waves come in, and it's just another beautiful, as Jim Bishop says, beautiful getting up morning.
Yes. I'm glad you're having the opportunity to be a part of that.
Well, and Jim, I also got up this morning and was reflecting on something else, so we'll move off of Key Largo for a moment here. I was reminded, Jim, because I went in it to look at the news this morning, and I checked multiple news sources, the BBC, Reuters, Associated Press. I obviously check Fox as well. But the thing that really struck me, Jim, is we have got to be so careful what we consume. You look at the headlines, for example, today on Fox, and you just have article after article of sad, sordid, dramatic, terrifying at points stories. And when people consume that consistently, and I think of my mother, I've had conversations with her about this. She's 90. She likes to stay up on the news, but when she's got Fox on in the background a good part of the day, you're just bombarded with all kinds of negative stuff. And, it affects us, doesn't it?
It does indeed, yes.
And
kind of like the Gigo effect, garbage in, garbage out.
Right. And so we've got to be real careful, extremely careful, to balance what it is we're consuming. And this is where, when people say to me sometimes, Butch, on My Great America, you mentioned God, you mentioned Jesus, you mentioned the Bible a lot. The reason for that, Jim, is just absolutely clear. We are a nation that was founded and predicated on biblical truth. And for those who don't believe it, all you have to do is go back and look at the founders' lives, the correspondence. You look at the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. You walk around Washington, D.C., and look at the inscriptions on these iconic buildings that are there that have scriptures and the Ten Commandments and Bible verses and spiritually motivated quotations from leaders. All of this bespeaks the reality that our nation is great because of our history. And I get so concerned, and it's not just a byproduct of getting older. I get so concerned, Jim, when we have educators, National Education Association, and others who just feel like it's incidental to ever mention God.
Absolutely. I had the privilege, as we were not able to hear this, but I interviewed John Cribb this morning, an author of several Lincoln's book, and his latest one is called The Rail Splitter, and he leads off, and I pointed this out to him, how important that was, I thought. He leads off talking about what an honest man Abe was even from a child when he borrowed a book and it rained on it and he was going to return it and pay for it. His dad wanted him to work in the field. He said, Dad, I need to go pay this book back. He said, Dad, I need to work in the field. Dad, he trusted me with this book. And he showed Abe Lincoln's honesty from the teenage years of growing up with nothing, just the farmland. So that's the kind of character we need to continue teaching in our schools, of people like that who grew from nothing to great success as President of the United States.
Exactly. And, it comes close to home, and it's one of the reasons why it's important for us to remember and be influenced and instructed by our elders. My pop-up, George Martin, the production control manager of the Schick Company, he helped them move a plant from Stamford, Connecticut to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's how our family became so involved and engaged in Lancaster County in eastern Pennsylvania. And he was the one who told me, and I've mentioned it many times on the program, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. And he was absolutely fastidious. He was a dog on a bone when it came to matters of morality. I'll give you an example. He would never be in his office with a door shut with a woman there. Not because he had problems with immorality, but he didn't want anything that suggested inappropriateness, or go to a meal in his day. Go to a meal with somebody alone like that. And when there was a retirement party for him, because he did a phenomenal job as the production control manager, when he found out that there was going to be alcohol there, he just said no. You're not going to have a retirement or a going away party for me that conflicts with my values. And so, through all the years as the eldest grandson of 44 cousins, I was so grateful for the reality that he lived a life in public and private that was 100% the same.
I'll tell you, that's a challenge for a lot of folks today, but I'm glad to know there are folks who still have that kind of character.
Right. And he and my grandmother were such a great mix and match with each other. He was kind of reserved, and my grandmother, Mumu, we called her, she came from a family of 14 Swedish immigrants, came through Ellis Island, and I used to tell people she knew no strangers, only friends she'd never met.
I like that.
She knew no strangers, only friends she never met. And I've mentioned this, I believe, before on My Great America. She had hearing problems, and they didn't have good hearing devices and hearing aids back in the day. And I may have mentioned this before. Their telephone number, it used to be when you would have letters, it was like LY67493.
Yes.
Are you old enough to remember that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Forest City was Cherry 5, and then the numbers out there.
Okay. Well, what was interesting is that their phone number there on Pleasure Road, 832 Pleasure Road, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, big old farmhouse, their phone number was only one digit off from Dial-A-Prayer. And she could not bear the people that accidentally called her believing it was Dial-A-Prayer. She could not bear with them not having prayer, so she would just pray with them. She would get her hearing device so she could hear, and she would just pray with them. And Jim, I wrote about it one time. I need to find the article. It was published somewhere. I wrote about a junk drawer that she had. It was like a treasure chest. It was a drawer where it was like a junk drawer. Every home has them, and some people have more than one. But I can remember as a little boy just believing that junk drawer was filled with incredible treasures, and it was, thimbles and needles and buttons and coins and just all kinds. Do you remember things like that growing up?
Sure, my mother had one.
She did?
Yes, she did. Loved to ramble through it and find thimbles and play with thimbles, make little houses out of them. Play like I had a house with made out of a thimble.
Isn't that something? And she also kept a couple of rolls of quarters. You know what the quarters were for? The quarters were for us to receive on our way to Calvary Church, where they attended church, because we were taught the value and the biblical principle of tithing. And so that junk drawer also kept the rolls of quarters that were used for us to learn just the importance of biblical stewardship. So, you know, more and more, Jim, it's not just because when you get older you become reflective. I've been asking God to bring to my remembrance the vital lessons of integrity and morality and a biblical worldview that came from grandparents that were incredibly important in the lives of all of their, all of their children, and then of course their progeny. And I referred to them at the end as a patriarch and a matriarch, and so much of what I'm continuing to learn about what it means to be a good citizen. You know, they would not miss a vote for anything. In the throes of his cancer, weeks before he died, he wanted to make sure that he voted.
Yes.
Because he saw it as a responsibility, and that as a Christian, a follower of Jesus, it was extremely important for him to show his diligence, his civic duty. And he used to go out and meet with widows and widowers, worked with an assisted living center as a chaplain. Both of them laid down their lives, and Jim, I want us to continue to reflect that in the balance of whatever God gives us too.
Absolutely, this is so important to do that kind of thing, and I'm glad you keep reminding us and bringing that up to refresh our memory that is so important as Americans.
It is, and you know what? We dare not forget the vital mentoring that can happen if we learn the lesson of asking good questions, Jim, which you do so well. Asking good questions and then listening to our elders. There's so much to share, so much that they can teach. It's one of the reasons why I thoroughly enjoy on Friday nights. We have fellowship at our church, Word of Faith Fellowship, different groups, different age groups, young parents, middle marrieds, and the like. And I have the opportunity and tremendous privilege to help Gerald and Linda Sutherland with the elders. And it's women, because actuarial tables show that men typically die sooner than women do. But I learn something every single time when I'm with these folks in their 80s and 90s, and just ask questions about their life and what have you learned. And Jim, we become a nation of talkers, not a nation of listeners. And we talk over each other, and we get loud and boisterous and acerbic and caustic, and it's not what God's called us to. It's very clear in Scripture: be slow to speak and swift to hear. And if we could bring some of that and inject that biblical value into the national discourse, Jim, it would change a lot, wouldn't it?
You know, my dad used to say, son, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means you're supposed to listen more than you talk.
Right. That is so true. And of course, Jim, for both of us, we've been on different career paths. I know I've spoken tens of millions of words. You have as well. And I have purposed in my heart, Jesus, I don't want my words to be reckless. I don't want my words to be casual. I don't ever want them to be indifferent. I want them to be prompted by what God says, because it does say in Scripture that we're going to be justified or condemned by our words. And I think about it, Jim, what's made America great in so many ways was the power of civil discourse, where you can have disagreements, you can have principled disagreements, but you don't have to hate people. And, it says very clearly in Scripture, they'll know we are Christians by our love. And I'm a firm believer, Jim, that we can have polite differences and positive discourse and civil discourse, even in the midst of the sea change of different opinions.
And you're a great example of that, expression of love for everybody and everybody that you meet, in spite of what may come your way. You're always an example of love.
Well, I sure want that to be the case, and I've got a long way to go, and God's still working in my heart, in my life. I was so happy that you interviewed, I guess, Mary and our dear friend Joni from Red Bell Run. That's great that you did that, Jim. Thank you.
Well, Stephanie was on this one. Mary could not come. She had obligations, but Stephanie all came with Joni, and it was a great interview, and I learned a lot about that place. I tell you, I'm really fascinated with it.
Well, and Tracy said she could bring her granddaughters and her daughter there at some point, and you and I ought to take a little road trip out there ourselves.
I'd love to. The sanctuary at Red Bell Run.
Yes, and that was great. And, you know, it just reminded me, too, Jim, that one of the ways that the county has been knit together in your 37 years are through these incredible interviews that you've done. You've given a lot of attention to folks who are unsung heroes in our county. And if we want to ask the question again, what makes America great? What makes America great is when our hearts are right, our families are moving in the right direction, our community is headed in the direction God wants it to go. That makes for a better Rutherford County, a better North Carolina, and as all of us do it across America, it makes for a great America. It's been great talking to you.
Hurry home, and I'll see you next week.
All right, blessings. Bye-bye.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.
I have more on that fire at Cliffside. A fire was reported at a Duke Energy plant this morning. According to Duke Energy, a fire broke out at Duke Energy Cliffside plant located at 573 Duke Power Road in Mooresboro. Officials said no one was injured, and they do not know how the fire started just yet. They're still investigating it. Channel 7 News has a crew on the scene, and details are limited. We'll update the story as soon as we get more information, but there was a fire there at the Cliffside plant this morning. Departments from all over the area went out to help with that fire. No one was injured, thank goodness, and they do not know how the fire started, but they are investigating. We'll have more on that as it becomes available to us.
It's a warm forecast for us today with temperatures in the low 70s under partly to mostly cloudy skies. We could see an isolated shower today and as we head into tonight, but very limited coverage. We'll drop into the low 50s tonight with mostly cloudy conditions.